Two pieces from Paul Krugman. First is Iceland, which also Gaius Publius from America Blog reminds me was also another country in Europe which did not get engaged in austerity. And while they still have high unemployment and a long way from full recovery, they're no longer in crisis. They have regained access to international capital markets, and society has remained intact without austerity. And it has done all that with very heterodox policies. Debt repudiation, in other words, no, we're just not going to pay. Sorry. Capital controls, in other words, on banks, and currency depreciation. The value of their currency, they depreciated it. It was as close as you can get to the polar opposite of the gold standard, and it has worked. And then he goes on to talk about Bitcoin in a piece today, I guess. You know what Bitcoin is? You know what Bitcoin is.
Yeah.
What is it? Tell me what you think it is.
It's kind of like a BitTorrent, but to send money. They have like their own currency, and you send it anonymously over that. But people claim it's not so anonymous that they could track it back to you. But yeah, basically you put real money into this Bitcoin currency, and you buy things with this Bitcoin currency.
So you can buy Bitcoins, right?
Yes.
Now, he makes it clear, and this is interesting, I didn't know this. He says that Bitcoin, rather than fixing the value of the virtual currency in terms of green pieces of paper, in other words, it's not one Bitcoin for every $1. It changes,
Yeah.
right? It fixes, instead of saying I'm going to peg Bitcoin to the dollar, in other words, that for every Bitcoin or every 2 Bitcoins, it's worth $1. What we're going to do is we're going to limit the amount of Bitcoins. There's a finite amount of Bitcoins, I guess, in circulation.
Yes.
I don't know what that figure is.
I'm not sure, but I do remember hearing that someone had this huge amount of this huge like Bitcoin treasure chest, you could call it, I guess, and their account got hacked, and all their Bitcoin currency was stolen, and it was like such a large part of the overall Bitcoin amount that the Bitcoin currency value started to drop,
Right.
and people were losing money.
Right. But there's a fixed amount. So as more people come into the Bitcoin world, the value of it will raise.
Yes.
So he writes it fixes the total quantity of cyber currency instead, and it lets its dollar value float. In effect, Bitcoin has created its own private gold standard world, right? Finite amount of Bitcoins or gold that fluctuates in its value to the dollar, in which the money supply is fixed rather than subject to increase via the printing press. You can't print more gold, right? And in this instance, you can't theoretically print more Bitcoin. So buying into Bitcoin has, at least been so far, a very good investment because even though it's fluctuated, overall the value of each Bitcoin has soared. Whatever you bought it for, Bitcoins a year ago, if they existed, they'd be worth much more in dollar terms. And so he says, but does that make the experiment a success? No. Because what we want from a monetary system, which is what Bitcoins are, isn't to make people holding money rich. We want it to facilitate transactions and make the economy as a whole rich. And that's not at all what's happening in Bitcoin. In other words, we want the dollar is our currency. And we want the economy itself to expand and everybody to enjoy, not just to have a lot of dollars or to have valuable dollars. We want them to have the capacity to use them to buy products and whatnot. bear in mind that dollar prices have been relatively stable over the past few years. Some deflation in 2008 and 2009, then some inflation as commodity prices rebounded. But overall consumer prices are only slightly higher than they were 3 years ago. What that means is if you measure prices in bitcoins, they have plunged. You follow that? If prices have remained steady for a Slurpee, okay, and in American dollars, a Slurpee is $1. Well, that may have cost you 1 Bitcoin a year ago. Now, it would cost you half a Bitcoin. I don't know how much the value of Bitcoins have risen, but now that Slurpee would cost you a half a Bitcoin. That means in the Bitcoin economy, you have deflation. The value of commodities has dropped, and your Bitcoins become more valuable because they can buy you more things. So the Bitcoin economy, as opposed to the currency, has experienced massive deflation. And because of that, there's been an incentive to hoard Bitcoins rather than spending them. Because if you realize today that a year ago, 1 Bitcoin could have bought you a slushie, and today, only half a Bitcoin it will cost to buy a slushie, you're thinking, if I wait another year, I can get 2 slushies or 3 slushies with a Bitcoin instead of 2 today. So you're going to hold on to that money, that Bitcoin, just like you would your gold. So there's been an incentive to hoard Bitcoins rather than spending it. And the actual value of transactions in Bitcoins, in other words, how often people have used Bitcoins to buy things online, has dropped. In other words, when people first got Bitcoins, they didn't think like, if I hold on to these, they're going to be worth much more in 2 weeks or a month or a year. I'm going to actually use them because they're currency, and I'm going to buy a Majority Report membership. I'm going to buy a T-shirt, whatever it is, and the dollar or the Bitcoin value of those transactions is the economy, and that has shrunken because people aren't using their Bitcoins as much. They're hoarding them. They're saving them. So the economy, the Bitcoin economy has shrunk. And if you relied on Bitcoins to do your job, let's say I'm only gonna provide my web design services for Bitcoins. Nobody's spending their Bitcoins, and you don't take dollars. You just take Bitcoins. People aren't going to spend their Bitcoins because I'm going to wait. Then you start to suffer in your job. You lose your job. And so, to the extent that this experiment, in other words, he says, real gross Bitcoin product has fallen sharply. So to the extent that this experiment tells us anything about monetary regimes, it reinforces the case against anything like a new gold standard, because it shows just how vulnerable such a standard would be to money hoarding, deflation, and then depression. And in fact, before we left the gold standard, we had intense volatility and plenty of depressions.